Hey, what's up, Improvement Warrior? Jason Young, back with you again. Welcome to Improvement Warrior Podcast. This is episode number 67, and this one is going all over hormones. It is called Hormonal Harmony, Endocrinology Basics from a Non-endocrinologist. So I'm basically going to guide you on a journey into the world of hormones. And it's, for me, it was very misunderstood aspect. The endocrine system, I completely didn't understand it, but I had to go through it, cortisol issues and melatonin issues and whatnot, and that's, I think, one of the best ways to learn. And most people think that the traditional healthcare system is just not cutting it, and that's because they are basically part of the United States corporation, and it's all about money. They don't give a damn about you. So, and diet and exercise will not fix hormones. It plays a part of the role, but it's not going to completely fix it. And as you get older and older, you're just going to be more and more frustrated with the diet and exercise approach. So that's why I've put this together as the first deep dive into hormones that I've done on this podcast, and probably won't be the last. But we're really going to dig deep into the hormones like leptin, cortisol, pregnenolone. Those are the big three that we cover in this one. And we're going to challenge some mainstream health paradigms. If you are an endocrinologist and you're listening to this and you're a centralized endocrinologist, you're probably going to get pissed off. Send me a nice message or a pissed off message, I don't care. But this is what we are dealing with. So one thing I don't think I've shared anywhere, but we used to, back when I was doing my boot camp, I started working with a endocrinologist, and we kind of broke up once I started doing all the Jack Crew stuff and actually talking about hormones, and says that you can't do that and blah blah blah, and I was like, basically, fuck you, and told her to go screw herself. So, but live and learn, but this is a good one, so buckle up. It's about 90 minutes long, but some up and coming and newsworthy stuff, so things have been happening. So obviously it is it's January 12th as I'm recording this, so don't know when I'll be able to get this out, but Happy New Year to you. So hopefully you are not the resolution type of person, but you've set your goals and you are starting to crush them. So usually by the 12th, most people have failed on the resolutions. I did subscribe to a new podcast, the Danny Jones podcast, due to Jack Cruz's second appearance on there. Highly recommend listening to both of his appearances on there, but the second one was all about Casey Means, who apparently was a plant, MK Ultra kind of CIA kind of dude that just shows up to basically just keep the focus on the food aspect of things and away from the yabba dabba jabbas. And also downloaded the Kevin McTiernan podcast. Highly recommend that. He just goes all over the yabba dabba jabbas and how the SV40 is in the jabs. So it's a great episode. So if you do know somebody who is jabbed, send that one to him. It's great listen. But otherwise, January 20th, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, my second iteration of the Circadian Badass is going to be starting. So that's basically the introduction course to circadian rhythm, circadian biology, light, water, magnetism, all that stuff. You can check that out. Register for it. ImprovementWarriorFitness.com/circadian badass. And also Improvement Warrior Premium. I do have that up now. It's $7.95 a month. Basically, all my stuff will be going in there. So all my premium webinars, all the posts that I do, all the videos, podcasts, they'll all be in there, and they'll be categorized into specific categories. So depending on what you're looking for, what you particularly need, because this, as I'm learning, this stuff it's very dense, but I want to get my head around it so I'm able to help myself better, and I'm able to help you, my listeners, my clients, future clients, all that stuff. And what I'm probably going to do with the next podcast, so number 68, is I'm going to start putting up like half or an hour of my premium webinars, and then the whole part of it will be uploaded into Improvement Warrior University, and I'll also put it up on Patreon. So any Patreon membership that you have, you'll be able to listen to the full webinar. But just the webinars will be going up on Patreon. Everything will be going up into Improvement Warrior University if you're interested in that. So, but reviews and ratings, we're always looking for that, and always looking for, reviews and ratings, always looking for that, always looking for new subscribers. Make sure you are subscribed to Improvement Warrior Podcast on your favorite app so you don't miss an episode. So it's been probably a little bit over a month since I've recorded one, but new year, new goals, so goal is to get more podcasts out. And if you are looking to support the podcast, Patreon is the best place to do that, so improvementwarriorfitness.com/Patreon. But otherwise, let's get into the hormones, and let's go. So I'll see you there. Stay strong, stay positive, be the Improvement Warrior. Hey, what's up, Improvement Warrior? Jason Yun back with you again. Welcome to Improvement Warrior Podcast. This is episode number 67, and today we are going to be talking about hormones and the endocrine system. But if you are new to Improvement Warrior Podcast, this podcast is all about alternative health, light, water, magnetism, circadian rhythm, circadian biology, mitochondrial health, hormonal health. It doesn't start with exercise and diet. And sometimes diet and exercise can hurt you if you are doing it wrong. So if you are new here, please sign up for the newsletter, improvementwarriorfitness.com/NL. And we're going to get right into this episode here. So this episode is called Unlocking Hormonal Harmony, Endocrinology Basics from a Non-Endocrinologist. So that is me, the non-endocrinologist. Mitochondriac from the start, Improvement Warrior. And that's what it's all about. It's all about learning. We're in the age of information, but if your information is wrong, which I was learning from information that was wrong, it hurt my health, destroyed my health, got me sick 2 times during my life, and now I'm on a path to basically correct it for myself, and then bring that information to you. So, navigating hormones and endocrine systems and endocrinology can often feel like a daunting challenge. It's why we do have so-called experts in endocrinology, but are they really experts if they're just putting you on hormone replacement? And I say no, and we've been misled with traditional approaches, and we need to stop that shit. So diet and exercise do not fix hormones. They can be a supplement to helping and leading, but diet has more to play with hormones, which we'll get into later, more than exercise. Okay, but I've got some insights on maintaining wellness through a deeper understanding of our body's endocrine system. So that is the hormonal system, for those who do not know. How this approach can serve for those who have lost hope for their hormones and disillusioned conventional health paradigms. So this podcast is all about decentralizing yourself from the centralized approach to hormones. Okay. Now, exploring hormone balance, understanding endocrinology basics. So endocrinology involves the study of hormones and the glands that produce them. And it's essential for understanding all of our body functions. However, the initial explanation it can be very complex. So I hated science in school, but I never had a great teacher to get me really interested in how it connects to health. And when I connect it with my health, I become very interested very quickly, because health is my number one concern. If my health goes, everything else goes. Business goes, my family goes, my ability to care for them and all that stuff. It just goes out the window. Let's simplify it. Hormones like leptin, cortisol, pregnenolone, they all act like messengers. They're helping to control things like hunger, stress, how energetic you feel throughout the day. Leptin, which is the master hormone, helps you tell you when you're full, among many, many other things, while cortisol is like your body's alarm system. It fires up when you're stressed. And pregnenolone is a building block for many, many other hormones. We're going to break each of those three ones down even further, and we'll get into some other ones as well. Now, stress can be the silent killer. So just standing or sitting improperly or moving improperly can have negative effects. So bad posture equals bad breathing, equals bad movement, equals pain, equals chronic stress, equals inflammation, equals jacked up hormones. So you can have, making sure that you know how to stand properly, making sure that you have proper resting jaw alignment. So when we are not speaking or laughing or talking or singing or just resting our jaw, so our jaw should be closed. Both the upper and lower teeth should be in light contact with each other, and our tongue should be pressed up against the roof of our mouth. That is the proper resting jaw alignment. So that will give you the best breathing. Obviously, nasal breathing, trying to breathe through the diaphragm, breathe through the belly. I covered breathing through the breath webinar. That's at the Improvement Warrior University, Improvement Warrior University on Facebook, improvementwarriorfitness.com/IWUFB. All this stuff will be in the show notes, improvementwarriorfitness.com/hormonal harmony. Also, the breath webinar I put it up as a podcast, so I'm not sure of the number. You can just search that. But proper standing form as well. I have a video going over that. We don't want to be in text neck. So text neck is when you're bending over. So we can do that a lot. Phones are one thing that is absolutely destroying it. So I'll link that up in the show notes and my YouTube. So you can watch that video so you know how to properly stand. But basically, I'll give you a short overview here. So you want to have your feet straight, right under the hips or slightly outside the hips. Your feet can be turned out about 6 degrees, but if they're turned out more than that, and that's your natural stance, then you've got some issues. You've got some sitting issues or walking issues. It's just something that needs to be fixed, and it needs to be corrected. Okay? And then when you're standing, abs should be turned on at all times, anywhere between 10 to 20%. Because if you just let your abs go, basically everything just collapses up from shoulders on down, and that will put your back in a lot of stress, and that will jack up your hormones. Okay, and then when you are in this position, shoulders should be back. If you're wearing a t-shirt, there shouldn't be any crinkles in the side of your shirt, right where your chest meets the shoulder. So when you round your shoulders, then it like bunches up. Okay, we don't want that. So get those shoulders back. Shoulders back, abs tight, and then head is in line, and your head is looking straight. So that's, in a nutshell, how we should be standing properly, and then how you should be moving. Take your two thumbs, put one inside your belly button, the other one right at the top of your sternum. Okay, so right at the top of your abs. So bottom right bottom of the chest bone, but not on the actual chest bone. And then your hands are, both palms are facing downwards. And then when you move, that distance should not change at all. So you're doing a hip hinge, pushing the hips back rather than folding forward. So when we fold forward, the distance is going to shorten. And when we overextend, the distance is going to lengthen. So I go over that in that video. So that'll be in the show notes, and link it up here as well. But your diet and exercise, and how you live your life can influence how well your hormone messengers actually work. So if they get out of balance, you might notice signs suddenly that you're feeling tired without a clear reason, lack of energy, poor sleep, gaining weight. Everything is basically a clue. We need to listen to our body, okay? And that was huge for me and my cortisol issues, because hormone issues just don't pop up like that. It's not like one day you are perfectly fine and the next day you have hormone issues, or the next day you have back pain, or the next day you have insert whatever, okay? I was living a life that obviously got me hormone issues. So I had my boot camp program, waking up at 4:30 a.m., usually 3 times a week. And for a couple, 2 to 3 years, I was doing it every single day, Monday through Friday. Teaching boot camp, sometimes I was working out before 5. 5:15 was my first class, so sometimes I was working out before that, and then sometimes I was working out after that. But obviously doing it under blue light and whatnot. So, but obviously the hormone issues, they build up until bang, they're right in front of your face, and you need to do something ASAP, or if you continue on your path, then you're going to have to do the conventional therapies, hormones and hormone replacement, all this stuff that we don't want to do. Now, so key hormones in health. Understanding there are certain key hormones that are crucial for maintaining optimal health. Leptin is known as the satiety hormone because it helps to regulate hunger and energy use, and it plays a significant role in our weight management. Now remember, leptin, again, is the master hormone. It needs 4 hours of no food and darkness to go into the hypothalamus to tell the energy status of the body. It does this around 12 to 2 a.m. And so if no food and darkness for 4 hours is correct in your body, then your body will be able to burn fat and burn the most fat. And when we sleep is when we actually burn the most fat, if you don't mess it up. So remember, I did the sleep podcast. It's episode 7, improvementwarriorfitness.com/IWP7. Now, when leptin signaling is impaired due to eating too late, eating too often, or exercising too late, okay, remember, exercise is going to increase your blood glucose regardless of the time that you do it, and regardless if you're in ketosis or whatever, low carb, high fat type of diet, or if you're exposed to too much blue light or non-native EMF. Remember, blue light, non-native EMF also will increase your glucose without any food. That can cause leptin resistance, which will lead to obesity and all types of metabolic issues. Now, cortisol is another important hormone. It is part of the body's stress system, or stress response. It's necessary in small amounts. So too much cortisol, known as hypercortisolism, can lead to problems like weakened immunity, insulin resistance. We'll get into much more on cortisol here later. Pregnenolone. So these are the three big ones we're going over: cortisol, leptin, and pregnenolone. Pregnenolone is a precursor to many hormones, and it is crucial for hormone synthesis and balance. It affects stress resilience and cognitive functioning. And to simplify it a little bit further, leptin tells your body when you've had enough to eat, cortisol manages stress, hormone helps other hormones do their jobs. And disruptions in these hormones will basically go on to affect your ability to function properly throughout the day. Now, a few insights here into leptin and cortisol. So Dr. Jack Kruse highlights the importance of these two hormones. They are two of the biggest. The big one I don't think we're covering at all in this is melatonin. That's one of the other big ones that we're not going to be covering in this one, but I've covered it in other places. So leptin and cortisol, keeping those hormones in balance. So think of leptin hormone that manages how much energy you use and your weight. So when the communication between leptin and our brain goes wrong, it's going to lead to what is called leptin resistance, meaning your body's always hungry, which makes you can gain weight easily, and it can cause a broader amount of health issues. So if your weight is off, either if you're overweight or you're underweight, you can be leptin resistant. Okay, and same thing with your energy. So if your energy is off, if you're too much energy, too low energy, you can be leptin resistant. And I would even go as far as saying the bodybuilders, when they're on stage in their ripped state, I would say they are actually leptin resistant. Cortisol, on the other hand, is like your body's built-in alarm system for stress. So it's necessary in small doses, yet too much of it, often due to ongoing chronic stress, can weaken your immune system and heighten the risk of chronic illness. So most people are in a chronic state of stress. They're in a sympathetic state rather than a parasympathetic state. So they always think that there is a tiger or a bear around the corner, or they're being chased by one.
There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow.
One thing that can certainly mess up your hormones is EMF, specifically non-native EMF. EMF mitigation is something that I care very, very much about. Imagine a life where you feel revitalized, energized, and protected against EMF. Justin Franson at EMF Rocks, who I interviewed for the podcast in episode number 29, have mastered the art of enhancing your well-being by reducing your environmental stressors. These natural grounding tools are designed to harmonize your living space, mitigate harmful EMF radiation, and restore your body's natural balance. Whether you're at home, work, or on the go, EMF Rocks helps to create a sanctuary of calm and clarity, allowing you to thrive in today's digital age. Say goodbye to fatigue, hello to a life filled with vitality. And don't take my word for it, join the thousands who have transformed their lives with the power of EMF Rocks. Head over to improvementwarriorfitness.com/EMF Rocks to discover how you can start your wellness revolution today. Use code IMPROVEMENTWARRIOR, all caps, and if you are watching the video version of this, I'm holding side by side the grounding bag and the mini bag. So I needed to order the mini bag because the bigger bag was messing up my EMF fanny pack that I keep my phone in. So head over to improvementwarriorfitness.com/EMF Rocks to check it out. Again, the discount code is Improvement Warrior, all one word, all caps. Now, maintaining balance involves recognizing when these signals are not working right. You have to be your best sensei, guide, coach, doctor. You have to know when things are off, okay? And when things are off, you need to look at what you've been doing, and you need to go a little bit harder on the things that I talk about, the circadian biology, the light water magnetism, controlling all your environments. So using simpler resources like interactive health apps that can track stress, or periodically having alarms go off when you need to do certain things, alarms to tell you to recognize your posture, recognize your breathing, recognize where your body is, recognize where your mind is. Okay, don't use things like the Fitbit or the Apple Watches or Oura Rings or anything that has non-native EMF, because that's just stupid. You should be able to tell rather than just getting a chart on something that tells you this or that. So you should be more in tune with your body than just using stupid things like that. Now, the role of pregnenolone. Okay, let me get a sip of water here. So pregnenolone, key player in hormone production, yet it often goes unnoticed. So I didn't even know or hear about the word pregnenolone until Jack's work in late 2018. So it is a precursor to various hormones like progesterone, cortisol, and DHEA. Now, the meme that I post the most of mine is the one that goes T3 plus vitamin A equals LDL cholesterol equals pregnenolone equals every sex steroid hormone. So this usually happens at sunrise if everything is in proper working order. Okay? Now, Jack underscores its importance for maintaining hormonal balance and supporting brain health, particularly memory and learning for pregnenolone. It's a foundational element in hormonal synthesis. Maintaining adequate levels of pregnenolone is crucial for the endocrine system's proper function. If you have imbalances in pregnenolone, often going to be due to, again, chronic stress or aging prematurely, can result in fatigue, cognitive decline, and hormonal irregularities. So you've got all kinds of different things going on with hormonal imbalance. So Trans Agenda, the Queering of America, which is a book. It's in my Amazon to read list. I haven't got to it yet, but apparently it's pretty good from the reviews and everything. The Carlos Delgado studies on EMF, EMR, radiation, and blue light. Again, Carlos Delgado did a study, I think it was back in the 50s or 60s. He basically took people, put them in front of a television set, and basically it showed that if you put people in front of blue light and radiation, you can basically put anything on there and you can basically program them to think the way that you want to think. So basically MK Ultra in effect. So TV is known as the idiot box. It's known as, it's the greatest one of the greatest mind control devices out there. And everybody thinks that they should have one. So if you do have one, get a Waken screen and put that on. So Waken, they brought back the red screen. We just have the amber. My wife will not let the red screen occur. So amber screen blocks about 80% of the blue light from there. So improvementwarriorfitness.com/Waken. Code is Improvement Warrior. Now, pregnenolone is like a starting point for many other important hormones. The precursor hormone for cortisol is pregnenolone. The precursor to that is LDL cholesterol. And the precursor to that is vitamin A, retinol, animal, and free T3, which is the thyroid hormone. We'll get into that a lot here later. So again, everything is connected in the body. Anytime your body is stressed, either good or bad, it's going to make more LDL cholesterol to make more cortisol. So anytime you block LDL cholesterol, that is stupid, as it's going to cause inflammation and it's going to cause cellular stress, which could result in cell death, or using your reserve depot, which has a limited supply. So if you know anybody on statins or a cholesterol-lowering diet, that is not smart. In fact, it's stupid, okay? So my bodybuilding days, that's what I was doing. High protein, low carbohydrate, low fat, low cholesterol, okay? And depression, anxiety, thoughts of suicide in my mid-20s at the end of when I was doing that bodybuilding type diet and stuff. So it's not smart. Vitamin A. So vitamin A is the only vitamin that is codified by light. So vitamin A is attached to melanopsin. Okay, melanopsin is our blue light antenna. Okay, in our skin, in our bone, in our eyes. It's not tied to food. So we get plenty of vitamin A from food, as long as you're eating the right type of diet. Okay, and as long as you're not vegan. Okay, retinol, animal vitamin A versus beta-carotene vitamin A. Okay, we cannot transfer beta-carotene into animal retinol vitamin A when we eat it. Okay, so all of your options inside of you are coupled to vitamin A. Vitamin A uses the photoelectric effect from the sun that basically Einstein won the Nobel Prize for in the early 1920s. Remember, photons only interact with electrons in our body. That's basically the photoelectric effect. So the electrons that we eat from food are codified by the free T3 levels in our thyroid. The electron chain transport inside your mitochondria, and remember we have trillions of them, are what keeps the flow of electrons moving in your body. If that flow stops inside of you, you are dead. Okay? If the flow of electrons slows down, then you can bet that you're going to be getting a disease, or you already have one and it's just going to simply progress. Reversal is not possible unless you speed up the flow of electrons or you make the flow of electrons more efficient. So the flow of electrons from food only accounts for about 10% through electron chain transport, while natural light accounts for 50%. Okay, for around 50%. So the things that make electrons flow better, okay, grounding, earthing, one of the best things you can do. We're supposed to get about 60% of our electrons from nature and only about 40% from food. Okay, so if you never ground, you never go outside, you are always relying on the food, and more than likely that person's drinking coffee and whatnot, and they've got energy problems and leptin resistance and all that. Okay, the other way is cold. Cold increases magnetism. When you increase the magnetism, you increase the electric flow as well, and so you're increasing the spin inside of you, and you're basically increasing the flow of electrons through you. So light, water, magnetism, nature's three-legged stool. And this is why you simply cannot reverse thyroid issues or a pregnenolone steal syndrome unless you address the vitamin A melanopsin issue. Okay? Remember, all diseases are associated with that melanopsin issue. So blue light, non-native EMF will also break that bond between vitamin A and melanopsin. So again, vitamin A is the only vitamin codified by sunlight. Your circadian rhythm works on a light and dark cycle every 24 hours. So if your circadian mechanism is off, you cannot fix that issue. Now, pregnenolone helps with memory, learning, and dealing with stress. And when its levels drop, you might feel very tired or very forgetful. You can keep these levels up by eating right, managing the stress. That's huge. Focusing on your breathing, your posture. Okay, posture goes bad, your breathing is going to go bad, your stress is going to go up. Okay, regardless of if you are doing everything right. Okay, and when when your posture goes bad, your breathing goes bad, and you're doing all that good stuff, it actually is bad stuff, and it's actually increasing your stress. It's increasing your inflammation in your body. Sometimes supplements with someone who knows what they're doing can help you as well. I know Jack recommended a pregnenolone cream in certain areas of the body. I don't know if he still does or not, but in his earlier Q&As, he did recommend a pregnenolone cream. Pregnenolone is one of the foundational hormones critical in synthesizing those other hormones, such as progesterone, cortisol, and DHEA. Plays a central role in maintaining your hormonal equilibrium and supporting brain function as well, particularly cognitive abilities like memory and learning. Pregnenolone acts as a precursor, meaning its levels and balance profoundly influence the production pathways of other hormones. Okay, so this is why getting on testosterone replacement therapy or another hormone replacement can be bad, because pregnenolone is supposed to regulate how much of that is being made. And when you're taking replacement therapy, that your body can't make as much, so it's relying on that replacement coming in. So it's basically destroying your own natural production of that hormone in hopes that replacing that hormone is going to fix everything. Okay? So it's always better to work on the whole rather than just focusing on one part, because you never know how that one part is going to make the other parts fall down, like a domino effect. So as individuals age or they start to experience chronic stress, pregnenolone levels will decline. So, I mean, all hormones will typically decline as you age. There are certain things you can do to make them better than most people, because they still say that men in their 20s today have the same testosterone as men in their 70s had in the 1950s. So, kind of ridiculous. So here's a quote from Dr. Fritz Popp. So we are still on the threshold of fully understanding the complex relationship between light and life. But we can now say emphatically that the function of our entire metabolism is dependent on light. Okay, so if you know somebody who is on testosterone or on hormone replacement and they're not focused on the proper light environment, so getting proper sunlight and blocking artificial light, then that hormone replacement is basically going to fuck them up more. So, and the best ways to upregulate pregnenolone, again, stress management, okay, proper breathing, proper posture, all that stuff, and all the things that I talk about, circadian biology 101. So grounding, sunrise, UVA, periodic sun breaks throughout the day, sunset, preparing your sleep environment as dark as possible, colder environment, all that stuff, getting out for the cold, cold showers, cold baths, seafood, okay, eating proper food. So proper food is actually going to help you, because it's basically you need certain nutrients to move you forward. You can't eat junk all the time. You need, there's only so long that you can go without iron before you become anemic. The B vitamins, selenium, copper, all the stuff in the Epi-Paleo diet, okay? So if you do need help with your nutrition, the Epi-Paleo diet, I've done 2 webinars on it. Jack has stuff on it as well. It was episode 66, so it was the last episode, improvementwarriorfitness.com/Epi-Paleo diet, I think it is. So you can check that out, or just download episode 66. Now, moving on to thyroid health. Let me get a sip of water here. thyroid hormones, T4 and T3. These are basically your body's energy managers. They help you control how your body uses energy. And before we go into that, thyroid issues basically is a light issue. Too much blue light on the thyroid, so the thyroid is right under where the Adam's apple is on guys, and right where the Adam's apple would be on women. And it's only about 1 millimeter under the skin. So I always wear a neck gaiter when I'm under artificial light. So Jack says the thyroid is the number one place after the eyes to protect. Okay. Now think of T4 as a backup battery made by your thyroid gland that turns into a more powerful T3 when your body needs it. So this transformation is crucial because T3 is like the spark plug that powers your metabolism and keeps you feeling energetic throughout the day. Remember, life is energy, energy is life. If you don't have it, you're going to start searching for artificial means to get it, usually. Now, stress and inflammation can block that transformation. So it's almost like putting a damper on that spark plug. So, an example, when you are stressed, your body is going to release cortisol, which is going to stop T4 from turning into T3. That's also going to shut production of pregnenolone down. And this can make you feel tired, it can make you feel sluggish, and even if your thyroid tests are normal, okay? Because cortisol is playing a big time role there. When pregnenolone gets shut down, it shunts into cortisol production, okay? So even if your thyroid tests seem normal, you would need to get your cortisol tests to see where that is. Now, thyroid issues are, again, primarily a light issue. Diet can help you, but don't waste your money until you fix the light environment and non-native EMF environment first. Okay, so if you still have the blue lit bulbs, you can switch to candles, but that can get pretty expensive, and you want to make sure if you're doing candles, make sure it's not like soy based or they've got like crap emitting from them. Okay, or you can just change your light bulbs to amber bulbs or red bulbs. So improvementwarriorfitness.com/blue blockers, that will have all the light stuff that I recommend there. All the codes are there as well. Exposure to blue light can disrupt or will disrupt your circadian rhythm, and that will significantly impact thyroid function. The 4 upcoming brain cancers since 2000, so you could think of that as the advent of the cell phone, and I think Wi-Fi started in 1999, 1998, somewhere around there. You've got brain, thyroid, stomach, and colon cancers. Okay? And what they all have in common, 4 stupid places that humans put their phones, okay, and devices. Obviously, they don't put it on the thyroid directly, but it's right in front of their face, which is basically right in front of their thyroid. All right. Plus, blue light exposure can interfere with the production of melatonin, okay, which is a key hormone that regulates sleep, supports overall endocrine health, including the thyroid hormones. Melatonin is a controller of your mitochondrial DNA, which is just 37 genes, and this is what controls the respiratory proteins, the distance between each other, which is known as heteroplasmy. Melatonin is made from tryptophan, which is made from serotonin. So from tryptophan you get serotonin, and then from serotonin you get melatonin. Okay. Now, this disruption caused by the blue light can lead to imbalances in the T4 and the T3 production. And when your body is under stress or inflammation, it is, again, naturally going to increase cholesterol production to create important hormones that are going to try to help you. protect you. So for this process to work well, it needs that T3 hormone and the vitamin A. So remember that meme that I mentioned, T3 plus vitamin A equals LDL cholesterol equals pregnenolone equals all sex steroid hormones. So imagine cholesterol as a building block, and if you stop the cholesterol production, it can cause more stress inside of your cells. And the stress hormone that is released in response to this is, you should know what the stress hormone is. Now, low cholesterol levels have been linked to higher cancer rates, according to some studies. Now, the Framingham heart study, which I think was started in the 1930s, is the largest heart study ever done. And basically, when the final results came out, they showed that the people who had the lowest overall cholesterol, lowest to average, so that's under 200, had the highest rates of dying from heart disease and from all diseases. Okay? And it's funny that the Framingham heart study is also what statin companies will use to prove, and I'm putting prove in air quotes, that you need to be on a statin drug. Okay? And that's the difference between absolute results and relative results. So they're basically just jumbling the statistics to basically lie to you. So one of Bill Gates' favorite books is, I think it's called How to Lie with Statistics or something like that. Right? But you can easily lie with statistics, and that's what they try to do all the time, especially big pharma. Now, when your cholesterol is low, it's going to be harder for your cells to divide properly, which can lead to problems like cancer. Just yesterday, I found out or a couple days, I found out my dad is in a wheelchair now. So he recently had hip surgery. I think he's been on statin drugs for, I don't know, a long time, probably over a decade. But he had hip surgery, I think 2.5 years ago. And after the surgery, his surgeon he doubled his statin drug. So that's just more proof with centralized medicine and whatnot. Just idiots. Okay. Now, also, when you are sick or stressed, your body again is going to raise LDL cholesterol, and often LDL cholesterol is referred to as the bad cholesterol. We need to get rid of that notion. So bad cholesterol is, you need to know your numbers in order to know if they're bad or good. So LDL cholesterol helps the cells function better and helps to create the necessary hormones. Remember, LDL goes on to create pregnenolone, which goes on to create all those other hormones. So, but if your LDL is high and your vitamin D is low, then your body cannot properly harness sunlight's photonic energy properly, and your vitamin D will usually stay low, okay, even if you're supplementing with it, which you shouldn't do. Okay, so it's best when you're in that situation. So you do need to know your numbers. You do need to have your blood tested. I would say, I think I'll get into that a little later. But it's best to start changing your environments now. Okay, if you have not downloaded my mitochondriac guide, improvementwarriorfitness.com/mitochondriac. That's a 17-step guide. It will give you basically 17 different steps to take to start changing your environments in the most important areas. All right. So diet and exercise tips. Okay, so maintaining hormonal health is all about making smarter choices in what we eat and how we move. Okay, so movement is essential, and moving properly is essential in everything. Okay, so if the hormonal issues, if you have too many hormonal issues, you're not going to want to move because you're not going to have the energy to do so. So we're supposed to be active throughout the day when it's light, and then when it's dark, we're supposed to be winding down. So if your movement practices are when it is dark, which mine were a lot when I started going through that hormonal issues and whatnot, you want to change that. So you want to be more active when it is light out versus when it is dark. So that's basically circadian fitness. So same thing with circadian nutrition. When it's light out, kitchen's open. When it's dark out, kitchen's closed. Now, the more healthy you are, the more you can break that. But the more unhealthy you are, the more you have to stick to that until you get yourself back on track and get healthy. Okay? So, but focusing on whole foods is going to be key. Spotlight is on healthy fats and healthy proteins. So the Epi-Paleo diet, which I already mentioned last podcast, number 66, rich in seafood. Seafood's number one food because of the DHA. We're not getting into DHA here, but it's the most important nutrient to eat. And I actually just started Epi-Paleo webinar part 3, DHA part 2. So that's important, how important DHA is. So, but you want diets rich in seafood. Meats, eggs are going to offer nutrients that your body produces and balances the hormones. Okay, so you've got the nutrients in there: selenium, chromium, copper, the B vitamins, iron, all that stuff. Okay, so this diet avoids processed foods, processed sugars, which can cause inflammation and disrupt your hormonal signals like leptin. But it isn't so much the food as where you are eating it. So are you eating it with your phone right next to you when it's on, or do you have AirPods in? Well, hopefully nobody listening to this podcast has them in. So I can tell when I'm eating treat days when I am at home versus when I go out to eat or when I go to my mother-in-law's. It's night and day. I mean, I can eat probably 3 to 4 to 5,000 calories more when I'm at home all day. So no Wi-Fi, no blue lights, no nothing. So the Epi-Paleo diet, also you can call it the keto diet, circadian nutrition, just eating seasonally is the best way to do it. Because Epi-Paleo diet is going to help put electrons back and balance out the proton to electron ratio. Okay, so seafood and fat is the best for electrons, and seafood, that DHA, is what is going to help you capture those electrons. Okay, the diet also needs to provide the right animal protein as the substrate for the hormones. Okay, so vegan diets, no, not going to do it. Okay. Now, you could do, before, maybe 100 years ago, you could have done a vegan diet. You wouldn't have been as optimal as somebody eating meat. But now that we've got all this non-native EMF, 5G, it's just not, it's not feasible. It's not possible. And people who continue to stay on those vegan, vegetarian diets are not thinking properly. And that has something to do with hormones, particularly pregnenolone. Okay? They have pregnenolone steal syndrome happening all the time in their brain and body. Okay, now, exercise. Just a little brief talk about exercise here. So exercise can either help your hormones or can really screw them up. So in my case, it really screwed them up because I was always working out at 5 a.m. and 5:45, 6 a.m., all that stuff. Okay, when you're working out too far in front of when the sun rises, that is basically this cortisol jackup, so to speak. So regular to moderate exercise is going to improve how your body handles insulin. so which is the hormone that regulates sugar in the blood. But if you are leptin resistant, which also means you're insulin resistant, so leptin resistance shows up before insulin resistance, the only workout you should be doing is walking outside in the sun or in the cold in the sun, depending on the season. So again, exercise is a stress. It is going to release cortisol, and if you have jacked up hormones, you don't want to be releasing more of that. And if you are leptin resistant, your workout is not going to be the same as somebody who is leptin sensitive. Okay, so I've got my leptin transformation, which goes over all of Jack's teachings about leptin, improvementwarriorfitness.com/leptin transformation. Okay, but in simpler terms, think of your food as hormone juice to provide the nutrients to all the cells. But think of sunlight as jet fuel to fix your mitochondria so your hormones can run off their proper circadian rhythm. Okay, and remember, all food, besides the nutrients that are stripped and broken down to go into the cells and whatnot, all food gets broken down into protons and electrons. Okay, and then the electromagnetic force controls where those go and keeps your body running efficiently. Let me get a sip of water here. We're going to go into circadian rhythm. Okay, I talk about a lot. The circadian badass program is basically my beginner introduction program to circadian rhythm. So it's improvementwarriorfitness.com/circadian badass. Next one is going to be starting January 20th, 2025. So I'm not sure when you're going to be listening to this. I'll try to get it out before then. But the circadian rhythm is basically your body's natural schedule. It guides your hormones when they're supposed to be released and when they're supposed to be stopping production and whatnot. Jack emphasizes this rhythm, absolutely crucial for keeping the hormone levels balanced. If we disturb it by sleeping irregularly or staring at screens late at night without blue blockers, our hormonal balance can be thrown off very, very easily. So this is probably the easiest way to disrupt our rhythm, is fake light and fake frequencies versus the sunlight. So this can mess with important hormones like cortisol, which is going to affect your stress, and your melatonin, which is going to help us not sleep as well. So cortisol and melatonin is supposed to be complete opposites. So when one is low, the other one's supposed to be high. When the other one is high, the other one's supposed to be low. But again, most people's cortisol are high all the time, and they've got low melatonin, which is why we have coffee shops at basically every corner in major cities. So if you don't sleep properly, you're not going to recover properly, and you're basically dying faster. All right. Now, the HPA, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, is a central stress response system that plays a pivotal role in the hormone cascade. It influences how the body adapts to stress. It involves a series of interactions between the hypothalamus in the brain, the pituitary gland, and your adrenal glands. Now, before we go on, a majority of your melatonin is made in your gut. So that's where the majority of serotonin is made. Serotonin eventually gets transformed into melatonin. Melatonin gets released, again, after 4 hours of darkness from the pineal gland. Your HPA, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, controls the release of cortisol. When your HPA axis functions optimally, it helps maintain homeostasis and adapts to external stressors rather than having chronic stress. Chronic stress will dysregulate that system, leading to an overproduction of cortisol, and that will contribute to conditions like anxiety, depression, metabolic disorders, cancer, heart disease, just you name it. Now, mitochondria. Mitochondria, tiny little structures inside our cells that act like little power plants, generating energy essential for our body to function properly. The importance of healthy mitochondria for maintaining healthy hormone balance and overall wellness, I cannot say it any more clear. Okay? Bad mitochondria, bad hormones, bad circadian rhythm, bad health, you're going to die fast. Okay? If you're not healthy for any reason right now, you have bad mitochondria. Okay? And you're dying faster. So it's best to fix it. So these powerhouses convert the food into usable energy, which in turn supports multiple body processes, including the production of hormones. If mitochondria aren't working well, it can cause you to feel fatigued, off balance, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. And I know Jack says up to 95% of all diseases are mitochondrial based. Okay? Now, your mitochondria is designed to make three things, or when we eat food. So when we eat food gets turned into electrons and protons to go into your mitochondria, and they make three things: ATP, deuterium-depleted water, DDW, and IR light, infrared light. So the ATP unfolds the water-binding sites on proteins. Okay? It's not energy immediately unless it can unfold those water-binding protein sites and connect to those proteins. Okay? Because if you're dehydrated, you're not going to have the energy you needed. Okay? So ATP unfolds the water-binding sites on the proteins. The DDW hydrates those proteins and the things in the cell. The infrared light is absorbed by the DDW to make your exclusion zone of water. So it gets charge separated, or it gets released as free heat and forms a liquid crystal to convey energy and info via the surrounding electrons and protons. Okay? So that free heat is what is needed for an uncoupled haplotype in January in the northern latitude. So outside, it's basically an ice rink. Snow everywhere. The city in our neighborhood does not plow the snow on our streets, so it's basically like an ice rink when we walk. It's ridiculous. But when you go outside, your body should make heat to heat you up. Okay, but a lot of people's heaters suck because they stay inside all the time under whatever their thermostat is, say 70 degrees. 70 degrees is associated with a certain UV index. Our UV index here in January is 2. Okay, so not very high, and that is why people are dying. Indoor zoo animals, get the fuck outside. All right, challenging mainstream medical paradigms, centralized versus decentralized healthcare. So again, if you haven't learned by now, everything big pharma, everything healthcare, the medical industry does, it's all about the money. They do not care about you. And big pharma, medical industry is all tied to the United States government. Okay, and I'm putting government in air quotes because the United States is technically a corporation. So you can look that up. Just Google, is the United States a government or corporation? And you'll find something. I believe it's in the USC, the United States Code, and it will tell you that the United States is actually a corporation. And if you look up the definition of corporation, that definition of a corporation is to make profits. Okay, so they don't care about us. Okay. All right. So big pharma doctors, they basically know how to prescribe medication, but they don't know how to heal somebody if they have a disease. And this is going to lead to overprescription of drugs, most of them unnecessary, and also unnecessary treatments. So mammograms, hysterectomies, thyroid removal, stomach stapling, and just on and on and on and on. is driven by the interest of pharmaceutical and insurance companies rather than the patient well-being. Okay? I just posted something, little picture. It said the number of people who go bankrupt every year because of medical bills. So you have Norway, 0, UK, 0, France, Spain, Portugal, Denmark, Australia, Iceland, Italy, Finland, Ireland, Germany, Netherlands, Sweden, Japan, Canada. All 0. At the bottom, United States, 643,000. That's every year. Okay, so it's a corrupt system, and the system is designed to keep you sick and keep you churning out money to the insurance companies, so they make money, and then eventually you die. But hopefully, you have ingrained future generations to basically do the same thing. So you've got to think better, raise the dopamine. So the current system basically treats symptoms independently, missing the opportunity to address underlying health issues holistically, leaving many patients frustrated and exploring alternative care options. So I know Mel Gibson was just on Joe Rogan. I just saw highlights of it. He was basically talking about he had 3 friends. All of them had stage 4 cancer, and now all of them are basically cancer-free. And because they're using the drugs that are that were banned, but no longer more. So there's plenty of ways to get rid of the cancer once you have it, but the best plan is never to get it. So prevention always goes over, but most people do not even understand why they're getting cancer at such a rate. So my unknown death causers is one of the places that you can go for that. So improvementwarriorfitness.com/UDC. Okay, I'm currently working on the orthodontics unknown death causer. Now, your body moves as one and works as one. So every thought basically becomes you. Okay, that's why mindset is number 2 on my 14 pillars of health. So every thought becomes you, and it circulates throughout you, giving you the life that you experience, making your reality a true reality. Everybody's reality is different because of what we think and what we do and how our body is processing things and what's going on in our body. So we all release infrared and UV light. The sun is God's creation. Life is God's creation. So they, the elite, the WEF, World Economic Forum, Bill Gates, Fauci, CDC, United States government, corporation, all want you to live in fear. So God is love. Love is the highest form of emotions. Nothing can conquer it. So a part of God is in you. So love yourself and don't fall for the lowering dopamine projects that put you in fear. That is what they want you to do. And medications they've got, a lot of them have fluoride in it. So a lot of them will calcify your pineal gland so you won't be able to think as well, and you'll just be subservient to whatever a doctor says, which we don't want. So many in the healthcare today, it all focuses on profits. And this means they might give you more medicine than you need, and that will keep you dumbed down, keep you, again, subservient to them, rather than fixing the real problem. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a broken bone. So instead, we need to understand our bodies better to stay healthy for the long run. Okay? And that means doing all the circadian stuff so we raise our dopamine so we don't need to be controlled. Okay? We don't want to be controlled. We want to question everything that they say. Question every word, every definition. So they say this, you say this. And if they're not open to answering the questions, fucking fire them. Okay? So this means looking more into health. Listening to podcasts like this. Listening to Dr. Cruz. all that stuff. Okay, and questioning the usual thing, the way things are done, so we can make better choices and keep our bodies in balance. So you have to become educated about health. Okay, if you have to listen to this 2, 3, 4 times, do it. Okay, I probably listened to Jack's 2017 Nourish Vermont talk 42 times or something. You have to become your best doctor. You have to become your best therapist, your best nutritionist, your best personal trainer, your best endocrinologist, and on and on. But you have to learn from people who are doing it correctly. Okay? Jack has a video on the medical tyranny and healthcare system that he did like 4 years ago. I highly recommend watching it. I did make a easy link for it. It's improvementwarriorfitness.com/Jack Healthcare. So great video going over the deceptions that they're putting you through. Okay. Now, let me get some water here. All right, epigenetics. Epigenetics is like adjusting the dials on a radio. So epigenetics is like adjusting the dials on a radio. And your genetic code is the actual radio. That is going to stay the same. Okay, all the buttons on it, the knobs, they stay the exact same. Now, how loud or soft the music plays is going to be changed based on your environment and your habits. That is the epigenetics. Okay? Now, this involves how our lifestyle choices, like what we eat, how stressed we are, how stressed we make ourselves or let others make us, can turn on or turn off certain genes without actually changing our DNA structure. Okay, so understanding these changes, which is called epigenetic modifications, empowers us to make the healthier choices every single day. When your mitochondria senses something is off and the changes become more chronic, that's the epigenetic signal or switch for the mitochondria to signal to the DNA to actually change. Okay? So before that happens, you need to listen to your body signals. What are they saying to you? Okay? And listen to them. Don't ignore them. Okay? Anytime I feel, I don't feel it as much anymore, knee pain. So I've got this thing called a voodoo band. It basically compresses the joint. You just put it around your knee. It compresses the joint, puts the blood right in that area, and you do some movements, and then basically it feels better. 90 to 95% of the people that put that on, it's like magic. So highly recommend that. Rogue makes it, Elite FTS. It's just compression band. Rogue calls it the voodoo band. But you have to listen to your body. And yeah, pain is a big indicator. Do not ignore the pain, because your body will adjust around the pain, because your body always wants to not be in pain. So it's going to cause you to move differently to avoid that pain. Okay, so adjust. Trying to look for the word. Address the pain immediately. Okay, don't walk it off. Don't walk differently, move differently, just to avoid the pain, or don't prescription or Advil or Aleve it to death.
There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow.
I will say it again and again. Your phone is one of the biggest detriments to your health due to the non-native EMF and blue light coming from it. However, with one Tap Zap app from solar-powered Rusty, you can take care of blue light, Wi-Fi, flickering effect, all in one simple press of a button. One Tap Zap, you can disable Wi-Fi and Bluetooth completely. Get rid of your connection with the cellular tower, apply a blue light filter, reduce screen flickering, especially over low brightness, achieve sound sleep almost immediately, improve your mitochondrial health significantly, and maintain eye health with no more dry eyes, and numerous health benefits as well. One tap zap, you can check it out at improvementwarriorfitness.com/solar powered. Unfortunately, it does not work for Android, just iPad, iPhone, and Macs at this time. But check it out, improvementwarriorfitness.com/solar powered.
So picture this. Here's an analogy. If your genes are the script of a play, epigenetics is the director's influence. So deciding which parts get emphasized based on your actions and your surroundings. So this means your daily habits are crucial for your health, potentially preventing diseases before they start by focusing on maintaining wellness instead of treating illness. And obviously, sometimes people don't know. Some people's actions can be perfect, but if you're living next to a cell tower, or it's in your backyard, or power lines are in your backyard, like my old house used to have, but I didn't know, okay? Wasn't into EMF like back then, okay? That could be hurting your health, okay? So we have to be aware of our surroundings and make our environment as good as possible. So when we understand epigenetics, we opt for a proactive approach to health. So much like maintaining a car to avoid the breakdowns rather than waiting for the breakdowns to happen. And by educating people about how their daily lives influence your genes, you can become more informed to make better decisions, and ultimately enhance their well-being. And obviously, it's a whole host of stuff that is compounding and beating you down. Okay. Now, there's a resource, The Epigenetics Revolution by Nessa Carey, Nessa Carey, just like Jim Carrey, Carey. Good book on epigenetics, and also Dr. Cruz's Hormone 101, Hormone Cascade 101 blog goes into some insights as well. And also look at the people in your life. Look at the older people in your life. So what is happening to them? How did they live their life? Okay, and what is happening to them now? Or what happened to them if they're dead? So 3 of my 4 grandparents are gone. Grandpa 1, heart disease. Grandpa 2 fell in the shower, died 24 hours later. Grandma 1 broke both her hips within a year before she died, and dementia. And Grandma 2 is still alive, but she has Alzheimer's. And my brother said it's not even worth going out to visit her. So, yeah, look at the older people in your life, and also watch older people. Okay, I have a tendency whenever I go places, I watch people's posture. I watch their feet. Okay, are their feet straight, or are they walking and their feet is ducked out? Okay, it gives you good hints for a lot of things. All right, HS-CRP. Highly sensitive C-reactive protein. Okay, so this is a critical indicator of inflammation within your body. It directly impacts hormonal health. And understanding and monitoring this level, so I think when you get a hormone panel, complete metabolic hormone panel, this is going to be included. So it's one of the tests that you need to have every single time. Understanding and monitoring this level is vital to catching potential health issues early. Okay, so you should be getting your blood work done at least yearly. If you are a train wreck now, I would recommend getting it done now, and then probably every quarter. So, but if you're not a train wreck now, then probably doing it once a year. I typically do it beginning of October or late September, because that's typically when my vitamin D level will be the highest after the summer. High HS-CRP levels often will indicate or signal a chronic inflammation, which is obviously going to lead to serious issues down the line: heart disease, diabetes, imbalance of hormones like leptin, cortisol, melatonin, pregnenolone, all that stuff. So to put it simply, HS-CRP is like the warning light on your car's dashboard, indicating when inflammation levels are too high. And by checking this light, you can make necessary lifestyle changes before the larger issues arise. Lowering these levels, again, it is a circadian thing: light, water, magnetism, minding your mitochondria, minding your light, grounding, DHA, all that stuff. But even when I was just focused on diet and exercise, my HS-CRP was pretty low before I started all the light, water, magnetism. But I was also younger, okay? So remember, as you age, things affect you more, okay? Now, stress management, obviously crucial in dealing with HS-CRP as well. And when you do manage this level properly, you create harmony within the body, which is going to help you achieve hormonal balance. It's going to help you achieve circadian rhythm balance, mitochondrial health balance, and improve your overall well-being, happiness, joy, energy, all that stuff. Okay, so as body fat increases, leptin levels are going to rise, and that elevation is going to trigger an increase in something known as tumor necrosis factor, TNF. So TNF is a chemical messenger produced by your immune system that induces inflammation. It's primarily activated by macrophages and induces inflammation by binding to its receptors on other cells. Okay? So, as body fat increases, leptin levels rise. This triggers an elevation in TNF across various tissues, and along with higher levels of NF-kappa beta. NF-kappa beta, nuclear factor kappa light chain enhancer of activated B cells. NF-kB for short. That's a family of transcription factor protein complexes that controls the transcription of DNA, cytokine production, and cell survival. Okay? So NF-kappa beta levels and IL-6 interleukin 6 is raised in the brain. TNF will disrupt normal liver homeostasis, paving the way for conditions like fatty liver disease and type 2 diabetes. And also, TNF alters the biochemical signaling of the leptin receptors by affecting their resonance at the hypothalamus level. So remember, all signaling in the body is either a frequency, a vibration, or an oscillation. Okay, and then the TNF will increase prompts. The TNF increase will prompt the liver to produce highly sensitive CRP. So, and that obviously we've been talking about it. It's an acute phase inflammatory protein. As an early indicator, HS-CRP signals cellular inflammation before any diseases becomes apparent. Okay, so that's why it's super important to get that, to know your number there. Inflammation leads to leptin resistance and a host of other issues. All disease interfering with the body's energy management and halting the conversion of T4 to T3 in the liver. And that inhibits proper thyroid function despite any normal lab results. So if you do have normal T3, T4 thyroid levels, you want to get your cortisol tested as well. So think of that as a car engine losing its gas pedal. Okay? And also concurrently, vitamin D production will diminish as the TNF affects that too, causing a decline in immunity and setting the stage for all cellular distress. Okay? So, and just quick word on vitamin D and people who cannot raise it. You want to try and raise it as naturally as possible, but if you cannot raise it, even after doing all the circadian stuff that's recommended, then it's an issue. You've got something major going on with either light or EMF. Okay, so EMF, there's a good. You can go to, I think it's antennasearch.org or .com, or just Google antenna search in your area, and you just put in your address. You also, if you also work in a different place, put your work address in there. It'll tell you how many antennas and cell towers, antennas and towers are around you. Okay, but usually that's going to be the main reason why your vitamin D level is not raising, especially if you're doing everything correctly. All right. So here's a quote from Dr. Cruz. In summary, once leptin resistance occurs centrally in your brain, the liver soon follows, and then the peripheral tissues become resistant as well. This affects fecundity, which is fertility, bone metabolism, cardiac metabolism, thyroid health, and the immune system in that order. So highly sensitive CRP forces pregnenolone to go into cortisol production. That is pregnenolone steal syndrome. DHEA, androstenedione, vitamin D, testosterone, estrogen, and aldosterone production will all fall dramatically. Okay? DHEA is also a blood test that you can do. I think I had it done 1 year, and it was, I think mine was super high. But it's a test that you can do. But low DHEA levels is an instant indication that you have a leaky gut, and you also have a leaky blood-brain barrier. And your sleep probably sucks. It's also tied to obesity, sleep apnea, cancer, depression, osteoporosis, all autoimmune diseases, especially Crohn's and colitis. You know what I'm trying to say, and especially celiac disease. So how well you sleep or don't sleep is ultimately going to be yoked to your leptin, which is intimately tied to DHA. And obviously it will be tied to melatonin and cortisol as well. DHEA is a adrenal steroid hormone, and it's the precursor to testosterone and estrogen. Okay? And do you know what the precursor to DHEA is? Pregnenolone. All diseases have rise in inflammatory cytokines as the main cause of progression. Adrenal hormones will be very low prior to the development of full-blown disease, especially autoimmune ones. Okay, so imagine cortisol as a hurdle that gets in the way of the process in your body that turns one kind of thyroid hormone, T4, into another kind, which is more active and important for energy. Okay, T3, more important than T4. When cortisol levels are high, especially during stress, it stops that conversion from happening, which means you don't get enough T3 to keep your energy up. Okay, now picture a traffic jam. Usually cars, T4, think of the cars as T4, they move smoothly from one part of the city to another. Okay, that's T3. But when cortisol creates a roadblock, the cars can't reach their destination. So instead, many cars start taking detours and end up in a place called reverse T3, which doesn't help the city run efficiently. So you have all these people taking detours down side streets and neighborhoods, which causes more issues. So, and think of the TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, as your city's traffic controller, and it tells T4 to become T3. However, there's cortisol releasing hormone, and it reminds you of a traffic signal stuck on red, and that blocks the city. That blocks the city's traffic controller. It blocks that signal. So the scenario is like putting your metabolism in pause mode. It might be helpful if you're in a situation where food is scarce, like in times of famine or severe dieting, which, I mean, if you're in a, most of you should not be experiencing, that will help you conserve energy. But for those not needing to conserve energy, it means less fat burning and less energy available for everyday activities. Okay, so many people get frustrated because they think that their thyroid is fine based on traditional tests. But without understanding how cortisol affects these processes, the real issue is going to be overlooked. Okay, so it's like checking the weather forecast but forgetting to look outside at what's really happening. Okay, and I just went on this, I think, last year. If you do look at the weather report, and it says 90% chance of rain. Okay, so you've got your coverage area. So think of the coverage area as a big circle, and then you take 90%. It doesn't mean it's there's a 90%. It's a 9 out of 10 chance that it's going to rain. It means that coverage area, inside that coverage area, 90% of it's going to be covered with rain. 10% is, but it's not going to be covered. So I found that interesting, and I found that that's why sometimes when it says it's going to rain, it doesn't rain or snow. Okay, so knowing how cortisol mixes things up can reveal what's actually going on, and that could help you avoid misdiagnosed stuff from centralized doctors and putting you on crap that you don't need. Okay, and a lot of doctors, they will not do certain tests. I know when I went in for my thing, my yearly physical, he asked me why. He said he had to put a reason why I wanted to do each test. So he wanted to know why I wanted to have my vitamin D checked. And I wrote a post about it, but he went on for like 90 seconds to 2 minutes saying why vitamin D is not a good marker and whatnot. So, and at the end, I was like, I still want the test done. But I had to tell him why I wanted my vitamin D test, why I wanted, I forget what else I did. What else did I do? I forget. But he wanted to know why I wanted each test done. Okay, so he had to put a reason in there for some reason. But obviously, a centralized doctor who doesn't understand. Basically, I just want to tell him I want to know, because I do all this stuff to be healthy. I want to know whether this shit is working. It's like, don't get in my way. Give me the fucking test. Okay? And it's like, if your doctor won't do it, you find a new doctor. It's very simple. All right. So, achieving hormonal balance. It means making simple changes that work for you with how your body naturally functions. Think of it like tuning a guitar to get the best sound. At first, if you are a train wreck, the sound's not going to be very good, but eventually it's going to, once you start to learn the chords and all that stuff, it's going to start sounding better. Right? Then eventually you'll turn into Prince or Eddie Van Halen. Okay? But not dead. All right, first start. So first you got to start the journey. So you got to start the journey, and you're going to be adding on top of things, and you're going to be taking things away as you learn, and as you're going to find out if something is good for you or if something's detrimental to you. And as new information comes in, you're going to adjust as well. Okay. So, 4 things that you can do. Obviously, eat nutrient-dense foods. We don't want to be on the standard American diet. Seed oils, carbs out of season, all that stuff. And imagine your diet as the fuel your body needs to create the hormones. And you also need that fuel for the electrons and the protons. Foods rich in healthy fats and proteins, DHA, seafood, most important, basically becomes the quality gas that helps your body engine run smoothly. Stay active, okay? Active during the day. Sun out, active, sun down, start to wind down. So picture exercise as a tool that helps your body manage, that can manage stress, depending on where you are in your physical activity and where you are in your hormonal activity. Leptin resistant, obviously you're going to do things differently than a leptin sensitive person. Okay? Stress management. Stress is like a weight on your shoulders that you can't get off. It disrupts your body's harmony. So engaging in activities like meditation, walking in the park, grounding, breathing exercises. I do not recommend yoga anymore or stretching anymore. I can get into that in a future podcast, but that is something that is not going to be helpful for your body in the long run. Strength training is the absolute best way for exercise and whatnot. And obviously sleep. Okay, good sleep is like a reset button for your body's clocks, autophagy, mitophagy, apoptosis, when your body is working properly. Okay, now, what in regards to food, how exactly do proteins and fats help in your hormonal production? So fat and protein, that is going to be your big ass breakfast. And the more sick you are, the more important that big ass breakfast is. It should be at least 50 grams of protein or more, and fat should be approximately the same. You see the sunrise, okay? Sunrise is what basically turns on beta oxidation. That is what fuels fat burning throughout the day. And then when we sleep, we have a different process of burning fat. Protein turnover is our number one energy hog in the body. It's known as ubiquination, and that's why after the sunrise, you're supposed to eat your protein. Okay? So we're tying the gut and liver clocks to the eye and brain clocks. When we do that, the circadian rhythm is working properly. But disconnecting the gut and liver clocks from all the other clocks is the easiest thing to do, or the easiest way to unsync certain clocks. You just do that with eating multiple meals through a day, eating snacks, eating too late, all that stuff. So the circadian rhythm dictates when we stay in balance. So if you watch a squirrel or you watch a deer year-round, it doesn't change much. Okay? They're doing the exact same thing based on their location, their season. Okay? So achieving hormonal balance is about finding the best tools in and communities that support your health goals. So imagine trying to play a game without knowing its rules. So it's going to be very challenging. And that's why using resources like this podcast, other podcasts, other podcasts, blogs, videos, it basically acts like a manual showing you practical ways to manage your hormones. And don't be afraid to stop, okay, and do a 180 if you read something from a source you truly believe in and it makes sense to you. But obviously, test it, okay? Test it and see how you feel. Journal, all that stuff. So rising dopamine is going to help make this all clearer. And as your or one of your circadian rhythm coaches, consider me like a personal guide for achieving balance and wellness. Unlike a traditional endocrinologist, I'm not going to prescribe expensive tests costing you hundreds and thousands of dollars. Instead, we start with the most accessible and powerful resource, which is nature. Okay? And through simple yet effective strategies, I'll help tailor that plan to align with your unique needs and goals based on where you are and what season you are. And to further support your journey, you'll have access to books, podcasts on topics such as epigenetics, healthy diets, all the webinars I've done, all that stuff. And it basically just acts as an extended library for you to make informed health choices. So by simplifying the approach and using suggested resources, one can grasp the essential of hormone health more effectively. And that's going to help you make informed decisions to maintain the balance. But once we get out of balance, you have to be able to recognize that something's wrong, something feels off. Okay? And when something feels off, you need to do a little bit extra or do a little bit more of certain things and do a little bit less of things that are kind of stealing your energy. Okay, so winter time, we're actually not supposed to work out or exercise as much during like summer months and when the sun is fully strong. Okay, so and we're also supposed to sleep more in the winter because it is darker, and that is a sign for more sleep and whatnot. So that is basically it for all the endocrinology from a non-endocrinologist. Hope you like the podcast. Share it out to anybody that you feel it can help. And if you do have questions, hit me up on the social medias, Instagram, Facebook, at sun.yun.jason, Twitter, Yun Training, and LinkedIn. You can find me somewhere. But Jason Yun 3010 is the thing that you're looking for. But that is it. That is all I have for you for this podcast. And yeah, don't forget to rate and subscribe and leave a review if this has helped you out. This podcast has helped you out in particular, or anyone in the past. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. It's going to help me out so other people can find this and whatnot. But otherwise, I'll see you on the next one or somewhere else. Have a great day. Stay strong. Stay positive. Be the improvement warrior.
There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow.
Hey, improvement warrior. Are you spending long hours in front of your screen, TV, feeling the strain on your eyes, or struggling with fatigue? If that sounds familiar, I've got something that could literally change your daily routine for the better. Waken's blue light filtering screens and lighting. That's right, whether you're working on your laptop, binge watching your favorite TV series, or you simply want to upgrade your indoor lighting at home or in your office, Waken has got you covered. Their innovative blue light filtering screens help reduce eye strain and improve your overall sleep quality by taking blue light down by 80% with their amber screen or by 100% with their red screen. Say goodbye to those late night headaches and endless tossing and turning. And it's not just for your eyes. Waken products aim to support your circadian health, helping you maintain energy levels throughout the day. Imagine feeling more awake and alert naturally and ready for sleepy time when it is actually sleepy time. Check it out at improvementwarriorfitness.com/waken. Use code IMPROVEMENTWARRIOR, all one word, can be lowercase or uppercase, for 10% off. Otherwise, have a great day.
There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow.
If you would like to support this podcast, then please visit me on Patreon to become a patron of Improvement Warrior Podcast. The podcast may be free for you, but it definitely is not free for me. So even if it's just $1 pledge or $3 or $50, I would greatly appreciate it. Just search on Patreon for Improvement Warrior or go to patreon.com/Improvement Warrior. It will also be listed in the show notes along with other ways to support the show via our sponsors or either via PayPal or Anchor support. To schedule your discovery call with me, simply go to improvementwarriorfitness.com/discovery call.
There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow.
We are always looking for ratings for the podcast. It helps my podcast be found by others looking to improve their life and health, as well as it helps us get ranked higher. So please help us out so that I may continue bringing this life-changing podcast to you and others around the world. Just go to the leave a review section of your favorite podcast listening app and let us know what you think. 5 stars is preferred, but please be honest. Thank you in advance.